And again, guys, if you, Sniper Echo says he's making a small game with it and doing a fly through. Cool. Well, I'll be interested to see how it progresses and comes along. So make sure you let me know. I'd love to see it when you've done more work on it, because it looks great now. And a small game is always interesting. Like I said, I'll be doing a cinematic for the Art Deco building, and we'll go through that in Unreal when I bring the building in and we've built it. We've actually rebuilt it in Unreal before we do the cinematic. And again, I may end up doing some texturing work on some terrain work in Unreal as well for the building to sit on, because in the original fly through it was just on a checkered floor. I think we should make it a bit more interesting. I just wanted to show anyone new what the last project was we worked on. This is the one. Just the renders we ended up finishing. And again, this is to encourage you guys to try Unreal, to try Eon View. My apologies. I've got 300 things going on in my mind at the moment. Okay, so this was the beauty render from the camera that was far away. And we used Eon View to create this environment. So all of these objects are actual 3D objects, the trees, the grass, the flowers, all of that. And if you look at my previous streams, you can see how I put this image together. Or you can go to my YouTube channel, philipfair_@phildoes3d. There are links underneath of my Twitch page here to my social media. If you go to my YouTube channel, if you prefer to watch video on YouTube, I upload all of my streams to YouTube, so you can check out how this was made. We started by creating the actual garden terrace in Max, texturing it up in Mari, and that's again for those people interested in using Mari. Then we brought it into Eon View and we created a 3D environment, rendered it out and did some color correction. That entire series is it's actually on Twitch under my video section, or also on my YouTube channel. I think there's just one more render, which is this one here. We did 4 or 5 renders because I sell this model on the Cornucopia 3D website. And that's for people. That's a website for models made for Eon View. I will be putting it on my Creative Market store as well. It's not there yet because I stagger my releases on Creative Market. So yeah, that was the model we worked on, the project we worked on last. And I encourage you guys to try Eon View if you're interested in doing an environment work. It's a great program. You can download a personal learning edition for free and try it out. And I also encourage you to use Mari, because again, they give away a free version. As long as you're not using it for commercial work, you should be fine. And give it a go. Try it out. Alright, let's finish off what we were working on last week, which is this railing work. And that, again, let's just jump into the original video here from UDK. What's this? I'm just going to jump through till we get to where that is in the building. Here we go. So that the piece we're working on now is this railing that you see here. It has a hole in the middle that separates the upper floor from the lower floor. We're working on this railing section here. And what I'm doing is I didn't like the original textures we used in the video, in the UDK version, so I've been retexturing it in Substance Painter. And we did the railings and the tops and bottoms of these corner columns. I'm not going to change this texture here of the circle pattern, because that's okay. And what we're doing now is we're retexturing these 4 square base pieces here that go in each of the corners. So we're going to finish doing that now. So I'm just going to go into isolation mode here, so it's easier for me to work. Now, again, this pattern, this circle, is actually in the texture, and we're going to be completely retexturing this in Substance Painter. So when we retexture it, I'm going to remove that original texture, and I'm going to recreate that fake decoration that's just a flat plane in an actual 3D geometry to make the piece look a bit more interesting. Because again, we can afford to up the polygon count a bit here, because we're working now 6 years down from when I created it in Unreal in UDK. So we can afford to go a bit higher poly. So what we're going to be doing here is and we're not going to worry about doing the sides or the back, because again, I'm just going to go out of isolation mode here. We're only going to see it from the front here. The floor goes right up to the edge here, so we don't actually see any of this around this side. All we see is it at the front. So I'm only going to put that decorative piece on the front of that object. That'll just save us a few polys, and there's no point in adding geometry where you're never going to see it. So let's finish this up so we can take this into Substance Painter. So we're just faking the geometry that we see on the sides here now in 3D, and we're only doing it on the front. Let's move this piece back into position. I'll work in my front viewport here. It'll just make it a bit easier. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to get back into my orthographic and look at the positioning of these. Alright, now I want to bring this centerpiece in a little bit more. And I'm going to pull this decorative piece in until it just meets that back section. I actually think that the cylinder is a little bit too high, the tube I should say. So I'm also going to scale that in a bit. Actually, I'll play with the height value here. We haven't converted it yet, so we can easily change it this way. Also this decorative piece here, all I did was add an extrude on that, so I'm going to pull the extrude back a bit as well. Not too much. I want a bit of depth to be going on in between these circular pieces. I'm just going to go out of constant colors into shaded so we can get a bit better of a look at the actual model itself. And what I'm looking at here is I'm making sure that that the model piece looks like it fits properly, that nothing sticks out too far. Now again, I think this centerpiece here, the actual bluey coloured box is still sticking out too far. I'm going to pull it all back. And I'm looking at it in situ with these side pieces as to work out how far forward or back I want to pull it or push it. And I want that blue box to sit about halfway into the decorative pieces that sit on the side. That should be good, I think, for what we want. Now, what I want to do here is I want to render out a multi-material ID so that when I start texturing it up inside of Substance Painter, it makes my life easier. I don't have to get in there and try and paint these small sections in the background. We really only need 2 materials for the multi-material. Actually, let's do 3. Let's make these a separate texture color as well. I think a darker wood here and a darker wood in here with everything else of the same color wood will look good. So let's do that. Let's start with our main piece here. I'm going to open up my material editor. And let's find out. Now, what I've done here is I've just created 4 plain colors. And by plain colors, there's no texture map assigned. All they are is a plain color with the self-illumination taken to 100%. Now, that's really important if you're using Max. And you want to render out a multi-material ID, make sure that your self-illumination is at 100%. And I've just chosen 4 colors that are quite different from each other so that they're easy to pick in substance when I do my multi-material. So let's start with the actual box itself. Let's make that this color here. I'm just going to assign that material. Let's choose these pieces now. I'm going to check this for a minute. I'm just going to jump back quickly. I just want to go back to my my original texture. Okay, I just wanted to check how the these side decorative pieces are working. That's fine. All right, we can jump forward again now. I'm just going to select these side pieces and add another color. I also want this piece back here to be the same color as the wood that we're going to use for these side pieces. So again, I'm going to assign the same material. And then for these pieces, I want them to be the same color as the back wood. And this one, let's assign it as a 3rd color because we may end up just making it the same color as the rest, but having the option there can't hurt, so let's do that. Alright, so basically we've got a multi-material with 1, 2, 3 different colors assigned to it. Now before we create the multi-material, let's unwrap the UVs, because remember they can't be overlapping. So I'm just going to throw an unwrap UVW down and open up our UV editor. I'm just going to scale it in a bit so we can get a bit better a view of everything. I'll move that off to the side here. Thank you, Reece, I think it is, for following my Twitch channel as well. Thank you. I do appreciate it. It's much appreciated when you guys follow me on Twitch, so thank you. Now, the easiest way here is going to be to do a flatten mapping, I think. That'll work for what we want. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move it out of the 0 to 1 UV space just for now. I'm going to pop it down here. Okay. Now with these pieces, I'm going to add an edit poly. Remember, I always work in poly mode as opposed to mesh mode. And I'm just going to attach these pieces together so they're one object. I'm going to do another unwrap UVW. Okay, let's pull that in. Let's make sure we select all of our UVs, and again we're going to do a flatten mapping. We could do a box mapping, but a flatten mapping will probably work for us. And again we're just going to move them off to the side out of the UV1, out of the 0 to 1 UV space just for the moment. Okay, now let's select the rest of our model here. So this piece and this piece. Actually, let's attach those 2 pieces together. Actually, let's not attach them together. We're going to UV map them separately. You'll see where I'm going with this in just a minute. Okay, we'll move those out of the way. We'll do this one. It's important to do this before you export your model to Substance Painter. Again, we'll move those out of the way. So we've only got one piece left, which is this back piece. Unwrap. Open editor. Scale it in a bit. Again, we'll do another flatten mapping. And again, we're just going to pull it off to the side here like that. Okay. So now everything is UV mapped individually. Let's select our main model. Throw down and edit poly. Let's start attaching these other pieces together. Now we're matching material to material ID. We don't want to change the material at all. Okay, so now we have one object. Let's throw down our final unwrap UVW. Open our editor. And now we can start placing all of our UVs into the 0 to 1 space. So let's choose the most important part, which is the largest part, which is going to be the main body of the of this box. I'm just going to move it over. I'm going to scale it down. Now I could get Max. I could select all of my UVs here and tell Max to do a pack. I don't like doing that because Max's packing can be a bit. I prefer to do it myself. I think you get a better result if you pack the UVs together yourself as opposed to using some algorithm to do it for you automatically. The automatic pack here can work quite well, maybe 50% of the time, but for things like this, I think packing it by hand is probably a better way to go. So again, I'm going to move these pieces in. I've just scaled them back a bit. The next largest area will be just checking here what is attached to what. Okay, the next largest area is probably going to be that circular section here, so that'll be this bit. It'll either be that or all the lines, but this probably takes up more geometry than those decorative square rectangular pieces, so let's scale it down a bit. We'll move it up to this corner over here. Again, I'm going to move that one just down there. And then after that, it's probably going to be probably this piece here, which is the color in the background. Again, we're going to scale it down. Just going to move it down here. I'm actually going to scale this one down a bit more because we don't need the UVs to be quite as large as the main part of the model. Okay, they're the lines, so they're the next largest section, I'd say. And we finish off with the tube here around the outside. Now, I'm going to look at all of my UVs here, and I'm going to scale these down a bit more because again, it's a very small part of the model that those UVs correspond to. The next largest part will be the tube itself. Yeah, Sniper Echo says he has to calibrate his monitor. Yeah, it's important that you do that, guys. If you're working with anything to do with color, particularly professionally, you must make sure your monitor is calibrated correctly. particularly if, like I said, if you're doing work for clients, they're not going to be happy if you give them something that looks a certain way on your monitor, but looks completely different on theirs. And if you're doing work for clients, they'll usually have a calibrated monitor. So yeah, it's not going to look too professional, particularly working for other people if your monitor isn't calibrated. Not only that, it's just important so that you can see the actual color, because you never know whose monitor is going to be looking at it on. So if you calibrate your color correctly, you're not going to have a problem. You'll be starting off properly to begin with. And now again, remember guys, in Windows, regardless of what version, whether it's version 7, version 8, version 10, you can do your color calibration in here. Go to color management and you can calibrate your screen through Windows that way. That's if you can't find an actual calibrated setting already that you can load up. Again, I work with the 10-bit color panel here on my main monitor. I have two monitors, both of them. This one is 10-bit. This one I don't think is, but this one, the main one, is the one that I've calibrated correctly, so that the color I see on my screen is the correct color. Because I've noticed too, when my streams go up to Twitch, they tend to look a bit darker than what I see on my screen, because my screen is properly calibrated, and Twitch's compression must do something weird, I think. So yeah, calibrate your screen. It's important. It's important for your work. Just before we finish doing the UV mapping here, I think, actually no, I'll finish the UV mapping. I want to take a quick break, but I want to get this done first. So I'm going to grab that next largest section. I'm going to scale that back a bit because it's still a bit too big for what we need here. Actually, yeah, I'm going to scale it back just a little bit. Actually, no, I'm going to scale it back up again. I've changed my mind. Yeah, it's cold. Sniper Echo says copy time, he guesses. Yes, it is copy time. Yeah, let me grab a quick copy, guys. I'll just be a couple of minutes. I'll leave you with my B-Road back screen. I have noticed that the music has been breaking up again on my B-Road back screen, so let me know if it's stuttering again now. I don't know what causes it. It's OBS. Sometimes it works fine, sometimes it doesn't. Oh, it's 3 AM in France, Nano. Well, thank you for popping in and saying hello and for showing your work. Like I said, it's great work. I'm streaming every Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday at 5 PM Pacific time in the US. That's 1 AM in the UK. Not sure what time that will be in France. If you want to catch me again, I'll be back on again tomorrow at 5. And thank you for popping into chat and showing your work. And have a good night's sleep. I'll be back in just a few minutes, guys. I'm going to leave you with my B-Right back screen. I apologize if the music stutters for you. It has been doing that recently. I don't know why. Could have something to do with the programs I have opened, or it could be OBS. We will see. I'll be back in just a few minutes though, and then we'll continue on with doing this texturing and substance. So I'll be right back. And again, good night, Nano. Thanks for popping in. Okay. Let's finish doing this UV mapping here. Have my coffee. Let me see. I'm going to move these UVs up a bit. And again, I'm going to scale them in just a little bit. Because remember, we don't want any of our UVs to be overlapping. Okay. Which means I should be able to scale these ones down a tiny bit. Again, because they're only those straight lines on the side. I'm going to scale these ones up because this takes up most of the model. What I'm going to do here is move these two small squares just so I can get that EUV space taken up by as much as I possibly can. And so we're also going to move these up. And I'll move these up as well. So I can get this just a little bit larger. Remember to make sure that your UVs are within the 0 to 1. Don't have any of them overlapping, any of them outside of your UV space. And I'm just going to take these in a little bit more. Pardon me. Just scale them back a little bit more. Perrico says he thinks his main monitor will have to go. He's tried and failed on several occasions to calibrate it. Depends on the age of the monitor as well. Yeah, sometimes it can be easier and quicker and better to replace it if it's an old monitor. Generally, monitors will last quite a while. I definitely, I don't know how many you work with Sniper Echo, but I find working with two really helps improve my productivity. I can have Max open on my main screen and I can have, say, Photoshop open on my second, or Mari or Substance. That's generally the way I work. So I don't have to keep jumping between them like you see me doing when I'm streaming. I do it this way because obviously I can only stream one screen, so. But my advice is if you can get two monitors, to work with two, then that always helps. It just makes it easier. Not necessary, it just makes it easier for you. Alright, so we have our main parts of the model, which is the largest part here, taking up the most of our UV space. And the rest of it's just fitting in as we need it, depending on how prominent it is on our model. So that should be good. We've got our UVs into the 0 to 1 space. None of them are overlapping. None of them are outside 0 to 1 space. Let's collapse our stack. And our model should be good to go. Let's call this one... what are we calling our model? Just got to remember that what we're calling our model pieces here. So I'm just going to go into the folder that we're saving them to. Usual projects, models, Art Deco building, exports. Okay. Wooden panel, square banister. Okay. And Sniper Echo says your old monitor looks good, but you can't get a new one to display colors correctly. Your old monitor looks good, but he can't get the new one to display colors correctly. Okay. So you bought a new monitor, but you can't get the colors correct. Is that what you're saying, Sniper Echo? Because you can buy things, color calibrating pieces of hardware that can do it for you automatically, but you've got to buy them, and usually you're looking at about $150, and it may be easier just to buy a new monitor. But they can work quite well. They're a little bit of hardware that attaches to your screen and calibrates it automatically for you, so you can load that into Windows. Like I said, and you only use it once. Once your monitor is calibrated, you don't need it again, so it's probably better if you can borrow one from someone than buy one. One of the reasons I borrowed one to actually do my calibration on the main screen. But you can buy monitors that are properly calibrated pretty well to begin with, depending on the brand and the monitor. Like I know Dell make a lot of monitors that are properly calibrated. Not that I particularly like Dell as a company, but you know, a lot of the studios I work at use Dell monitors. You think it's just the new monitor that's the issue? Yeah, well, it seems it doesn't seem right to actually, if you bought a new monitor to replace it. I thought you were talking about your old monitor not being able to calibrate it correctly. But if you bought a new one and you're having problems calibrating the color correctly, it seems annoying to say the least to have to buy another one. Yeah, try looking online for one of these calibration profiles. There are websites you can go to, these ICC profiles, or ICM they're actually called, where you can download one of those, and if you can find one, then you don't have to calibrate it yourself. You can just load it in here. You add it through Microsoft's tool, and it will be calibrated correctly for you. So that might be an option to look for online. You have a Philips and a Dell calibrate. Yeah, Dell monitors will always be calibrated correctly. They do a pretty good job of the color correction on Dell, because they're used in studio work quite a bit. So one of their selling points is to make sure things are calibrated correctly. But look for the, I'm assuming that, yeah, the Philips monitor, look online for one of those .icm profiles. There may be one that you can download already where somebody's already done a calibration for you, and you can just load that into Windows. You have to make sure it's the same model though. Don't download just any Philips monitor profile. Make sure the model number is the same as the monitor you're using. And if you can find one online, and there are a lot online for different monitors, load that up into Windows, and that should give you proper color calibration. If somebody's already done it and uploaded it. There is a database online, I can't remember the name of it now, but if you just search for color calibration and your monitor model number, see if somebody's already uploaded one for you. That just saves you having to buy a new monitor if you can fix it that way. Because, like I said, people do put them online. And like I said, as long as it's the same model number, it should be calibrated correctly, even if somebody else's monitor, providing it's the same model number, not just the same brand. It can't just be any Philips monitor ICM profile. I tried that first before buying new hardware though. And if you can't find it, and you can't borrow a hardware calibration tool, I guess there's no other option but to get a new monitor. It just seems I'd be really annoyed if I bought a new monitor and I couldn't calibrate it correctly and have to buy another one. But try that first. Try to find one online that you can download, because Windows will let you load it up. So we have our model all attached, all with the different colors added for our multi-material ID, and UV mapped into its own individual UV space with no overlapping UVs. Let's do a render to texture here. So just before I do that, I'm going to call this one, we'll call it wooden corner box. There we go. As long as we know what it means, it doesn't really matter what it's called. So let's export this model first. I'm going to export selected. We're going to go into our exports folder, and again we're going to create a new folder because I like to keep everything nice and easy to find. So we're going to call wooden corner box, and we're going to call the model wooden corner box, and we're saving it as an FBX file. Alright, let's do our render to texture now so that we can do our multi-material ID inside of Substance. Actually, we may have to resave that once we've done this, but let's do this first. So do render to texture. Now we're using existing channel 1. We're just going to add a diffuse map. And we're going to save it as a 2048. It doesn't matter because this is just a material ID map that we're rendering out. So the texture size doesn't really matter. We're going to save it into our folder. Then we're going to call it wooden corner box underscore ID for an ID map. We'll save it as a PNG. And we'll render. Okay, so all that's done is just separate our IDs for our different parts of the geometry. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to resave the model. Before I do that, actually, I'm just going to make a copy of it in case I need to come back to this for any reason. So I'm just going to hold down the Shift key and drag out a copy. And I'm going to assign one material to this copy. Now, we did just save it out, but we saved it out as multi-materials. So when we brought that, if we brought that object into Substance, it's going to have multiple texture materials assigned to it. And remember, the more materials you have on an object, the slower that object will render in your game engine. So in this case, having 3 materials creates more draw calls. So the best thing for a game engine model would be to make sure it's only one material. And we're going to do that just by assigning any of these materials. It doesn't really matter. This one will do. One material to the entire object, and we're going to re-export it again. And we're just going to overwrite the one that we saved out just before. Alright, so let's jump into Substance Painter now. Let's create a new project and load up that wooden box that we just exported. Everything else should be fine. You see we've only got one material here. If we'd worked with the original one, the first one we exported, we would have had 3 or 4 materials, and that would be that would cause more draw calls on the object. But having one material is the best way to go. Let's start by dragging up. Let's use this wood beech honey. Yeah, I'm just going to drag that in. I'm going to remove this top layer because we don't need it. It's just created by Substance by default. Just going to zoom out a bit here. Before I start adding my second layer, I'm just going to make sure that the scaling is correct. I'm going to turn off height because I don't want any height information showing up under that level. And aside from that, actually, Substance has done a pretty good job as far as UV scaling. I don't think I'll change this. Okay, let's drag out our proper wooden American cherry, which is the one that we use for every other part of that banister. Now for this one, we're going to knock back the roughness a bit so it's not quite so shiny. I want it a little shiny, but not too shiny. Maybe a little bit more. That should be good. Let's take back our height position and height range as well. I don't want it to be quite so bumpy. A little bit of a bump, but not too much. Alright. I'm also going to pull back on the normal intensity just a little bit. Okay, let's look at this wood beech chocolate. I knew it would do that. Back to this one. Really annoying. Okay. Let's pull our wood beech chocolate in. Let's add a mask with color selection. Let's make sure we load up our ID map. You know what? We're going to start again just because I forgot to load up my ID map here. So I'm just going to again select that wooden box. I'm going to add the ID map we rendered out, which is what I forgot to do. Throw down our wood beech honey. Turn off our height. Remove that layer. Now we're going to throw down our cherry wood. Again, I'm just going to pull back on the height a bit, pull back on the normal a little bit, and just pull back on the shininess a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to pull in our wood beech chocolate. I'm going to again pull back on my roughness so it's not quite so shiny, and also pull back on the height and the normal intensity.